So let's play connect the dots today. I wanted to make this video to bring up a couple of very key points that have been made by myself and many other people in regards to finding the truth of what's behind the narrative, looking back behind the curtain of Oz, actually really seeing what is behind the whole aspect of the coronavirus, the lockdown, and why we are here right now. And as I've shared before, in 2015, I was on the front lines with holding the line and speaking for a choice in what is injected into our children's bodies. Now, the reason that is imperative to connect these two now is because it is definitely a part of what we're here and have been handed to us right now. So the story that we are in is everybody's story. It's not just our children's story. It's a story that affects every single human on earth. This story that has been going on for a very long time has not moved us. Some of us have been moved because it affected us personally. It was very personal because it was going to affect whether or not our children were going to be allowed back into schools, public or private, regardless of our personal or religious ideology. When those were taken away in 2015 in the state of California and many other states as well, it was a little too late of the alarm clock being rung. It was, most of us were not really paying attention. We did not understand the whole ideas behind what had happened. We didn't understand what was involved, what was being planned, that this was just a part of a bigger, grander plan. It just seemed like a no-brainer for most people. Of course, we want to get our children vaccinated. Yes, we don't want them to get some type of terrible childhood disease. I myself had been a card-carrying vaccine mom, very proud of it, very firm as a critical care nurse, educated in Western medicine, that this was very important for myself to be a mom that was, doing the right things, that was protecting my children, protecting other people, and that was as far as it went. By the time that most of us had any idea that there was an issue with this bill that was proposed in 2015, the time had gone past. So many people had to scramble and do whatever they needed to do. Many people moved out of state, homeschooling, whatever. And the other people maybe who were kind of starting to get a clue just had to continue to go along with whatever was happening. Now here we are in 2020. What is the connection here? I'll tell you. The connection is 1986. 1986 was when the story began to really unfold and lay the groundwork for where we are today. What happened in 1986 was the Vaccine Injury Act for Children that actually gave the vaccine manufacturers complete indemnification from any wrongdoing, any harm or death to anyone who received a vaccine. They were getting sued left and right, and what happened? They were not going to be giving the vaccines anymore. So the government stepped in and the government said, we got your back, we'll handle it. If there's any lawsuits, they'll go through us. That led them to go through the vaccine court, which is basically a kangaroo court, no judge, no jury, no discovery, making it very difficult. If anyone connected a dot of, I had my child vaccinated, they were fine, then they had a seizure, they went off into another realm, they were completely fine until this. To prove that at this type of court, almost impossible. Yet, even with that, billions of dollars have been paid out by the federal government on the injuries that actually did, the parents that actually were able to make it through that process, which is extremely, extremely difficult with those parameters set up by the government to protect the vaccine companies. What does that have to do with today? The story of 1986 is all of our story now. What we are facing as a collective on this planet is a vaccine for all of us, baby to the oldest person, without any regard for any other issues. A one size fits all. And guess what? The same law that protected all of the vaccines that went up threefold, now 17 vaccines, 72 to 4 doses from the time your baby is born until they graduate from high school. That rate of vaccines ever since 1986 has skyrocketed, along with a lot of other issues. Without even getting into those, let's talk about now. Now we are having a vaccine that's in process, speed trained through, fast tracked on unprecedented proportions for you and your family and me and my family and our friends and our human family, regardless of what we think, regardless of how we feel. The trials have been skipped. They did some trials in the animal kingdom, which were detrimental. You can look it up. Skipping right to human trials. Moderna has been doing them, and they've been very, very bad results for the people that are healthy that they are doing trials on. Not people that are part of the 54% of Americans that have comorbid conditions, overweight, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, all the different things, not testing for safety of this vaccine. But you know why they can do this and get away with this? I'll tell you why. 1986 allowed all these companies that are now in the race for this super vaccine to prevent an X factor coronavirus that mutates much like the flu to be mandated, compulsory for all of us. And we're supposed to just take it because we're in fear that if we don't, we won't live, we won't survive, we'll be in lockdown, we'll be masked forever, we'll have worse problems. We're giving all this information, and it's simply guiding us to this place, which is the bigger picture that those of us who were involved before 2015, I got involved in 2015 and beyond, have seen. We've been researching this. We know it very clearly that this is so real. This is not science fiction, but this vaccine that they're preparing is the first of its kind. This is our story. We must begin to make it our story. It can't be dismissed as something that doesn't affect us, that we should just all go along with because the government has our best interest. No, we have to do our due diligence to see the history so we can understand the process of all the different corruptive forces that have been intricately involved in this very thing. What is behind this? We must find out. We must investigate. We must take back our power. Friends, I'm telling you, I am asking you, I'm imploring you. I am here to inspire, to inquire. Inquire for yourself. Do not take one person's point of view as face value. I can testify as my own witness. I was deeply entrenched in the belief that the government had my best interest at mind, that the FDA, the CDC, the WHO, that all had these so-called checks and balances into place were there to protect my children. And that was not the case. We found that out with William Thompson from the CDC, that completely came out as a whistleblower. He still has not come before Congress. They are not wanting to hear his testimony. Watched to see this, what has been happening. go and research for yourself. See who it has this has a conflict of interest in the studies that are being put out. Look and see who is signing off on these. There is a very good reason why we are here. And it did not just happen with the coronavirus. This was an opportunistic time for this very important mandate to come through. And however it got here, it's here. And there's no debating about it, in my opinion. What I'm here to ask of you is to really see what act of the play from 1986 we're in. And it looks to be the final act, friends. We need to take a look at what is happening. I really want to encourage you to watch this docufilm that was done by somebody that I highly respect, who is literally dedicated his life to bring the truth at every cost to himself. This is their story, and this film is our story. It's our story. When you're starting to get some information, like I'm sharing information with you, it's okay to have been going on a certain mindset and change your mind. It's okay to see a different perspective now and say, wow, I didn't know that. I was misled. I had no idea until somebody told me, until somebody said, hey, listen, check this out. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to have an open mind. It's okay. And it may completely dismantle every single thing you ever thought to be true. But it's okay. More people need to wake up. More people need to see what's true. I know. I went through the whole thing. I went through a whole huge mind blow of all of it. But there's a lot of people that are also waking up, and you're in good company. I want you to consider watching 1986, The Act. I want you to see that this is your story. This is not just a story about a pregnant woman and her husband that are trying to make a decision about what to do for their child. This is your decision to what you're going to do for not only if your children, if you have children, but for yourself. For yourself, for our planet, for humanity. How are we going to play this next act out? We get a choice. We should be able to have a choice. I'm imploring you to really look deeper, 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 and be open to see beyond what perhaps you always thought to be true. And I know it's not an easy thing. I know it can be very difficult and painful even. But it's important, and I wouldn't be coming out here and really coming out on a limb to urge us all to do this. So check it out, do some research. Don't believe me, don't believe anybody until you do your own research. Then, and especially if you're a mom, go deep into your own intuition. Really, really drop in. What is true? Maybe something she said is true. Maybe something they said is true. And what is the rationale behind all this? What are the risks to benefits versus, all the things? Yeah. I just want you to remember that vaccines are a medication of sorts. And one size doesn't fit all. And there will be many, 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 many people that will perish over this. If it's compulsory or if it's not. I just ask you to look at the data, look at what's happening, look at the safety versus the risk, and hopefully together we can have a real open discussion without blaming or shaming or pointing fingers, and just really saying we need to look at this on all levels, on all aspects before we just blindly, agree to something, because it's that important. So thank you in advance for your time, for your researching and watching.